So one thing that I'm very passionate about is youth strength and conditioning and just youth sports because as an athlete growing up, I just love it and I love sports and all that good stuff. And speaking with a lot of people in the strength and conditioning space, athletic training space, and then parents of current youth athletes, and also just seeing what youth athletes are kind of going through and doing, and just injury rates rising tremendously. And it's really due to overtraining and overuse injuries. And, the sport that I actually see the least amount of injuries in, quite frankly, is football, because you don't play multiple football games ever in a week, right? You play your one football game. And you also typically don't have travel football leagues. You don't typically play football out of season. So that's really where I see the least amount of injuries happening. I see the most injuries happening with baseball specifically, because it seems as though, for whatever reason, baseball is played year round a lot. And then also just with baseball tournaments where kids are playing multiple games in a weekend, which once again, you really never play multiple baseball games in a weekend other than with some of these off-season travel teams and playing multiple games. It's like doing multiple workouts in a day, right? I don't do it because it would make me feel like crap and I would have different injuries and pain in different areas. And with baseball players, especially pitchers, or when you're throwing and hitting and twisting and rotating, or if you're a catcher and you're in the bottom of a squat catching for multiple hours or times in a day, in a weekend, when you're not supposed to be, or throwing, and then you have elbow issues, shoulder issues, you might have back issues. Like, that's the reason why injuries are rising. It's because we're doing too much. It's because too much in a day, too much in a weekend. We are not giving our bodies enough rest. And when I was growing up, we didn't have these travel teams. So football season, you played football. Wrestling season or basketball season, you wrestled, played basketball. Then you played lacrosse or baseball. And in the summer, might do a wrestling tournament here and there. You might have some camps, but we weren't playing lacrosse during football season. It doesn't make any sense. You can't go from a football practice 5 days a week and a football game on Saturday and then have multiple lacrosse games on a Sunday and have lacrosse practice after football practice and think that you're not going to get hurt or feel like shit or have overuse issues. And specifically, a huge injury that we see a lot more of is ACL injuries. And I believe ACL injuries in youth athletes have doubled over the recent years. And again, it's overuse and then not enough rest at the same time, which they kind of go hand in hand, but rest and recovery is different than overuse. Okay. Now, the more you play, the more you have to rest. So you do need time off. Then at the same time, if we aren't giving ourselves a break from certain sports, let's say, again, baseball is typically what I see as the one that's being played the most and being done the most, soccer too, then you're having overuse because you're just doing repetitive motions, throwing, again, if you're a catcher, sitting in the bottom of a squat, and then you're probably not playing another sport. So if you're playing baseball year round, as an example, you're not resting some of those muscles and tissues and movement patterns. At the same time, you're not training other muscles and tissues and movement patterns that you would have been if you were playing football, if you were wrestling, playing basketball. And so now there's overuse issues, and then there's also underuse issues. And so there's strength balance issues. And again, you're not resting enough. You're not recovering enough. You're playing too much. You're not sleeping enough. You're eating like crap. And that's why kids are getting injured more, and they're actually not becoming better athletes. And playing on travel sports teams, we know, doesn't actually increase the likelihood that they're gonna play in college. It doesn't actually make them better at the sport. We think it will, right? Because the more we play, we feel that it just makes sense. You're probably going to get better, right? You're practicing more, you're doing more. But once again, when we take a step back, you're not going to be better if you're hurt. You're not going to be better if you feel like shit. You're not going to be better if, of course, you quit because you're burnt out and you start to hate it. You're going to actually be better if you become a better athlete overall, and if you feel better, and if when baseball or lacrosse season comes, you're excited to play because you just came from basketball or wrestling season, like was the case with me and all my friends growing up. You're excited for a different sport. You're excited to maybe play with different friends that might have been in a different sport in the winter, in the fall. And you're going to be a better athlete by playing multiple sports because you're going to develop different qualities of athleticism by playing football, by wrestling or playing basketball, by playing baseball or lacrosse. And once again, if we take a step back, if someone is a better athlete overall, where they're stronger, they're fitter, they're faster, they're more explosive, they're more powerful, they're more flexible, they're more agile, they're more mobile. They, again, you're just a better athlete overall. You're going to be better at essentially every sport than the person, like long term, than the person that specializes. Okay. And, I use this example a lot. I mean, LeBron is LeBron, right? But LeBron played football in high school. LeBron didn't specialize in basketball. He played basketball, right? But he also played football, okay? And there's a number of pro athletes that say this, right? They say that they played multiple sports. They were 3 sport athletes. They were 2 sport athletes. Because once again, the more athletic you are, the better, overall athlete you are long term. That's going to transfer more than specializing in your sport. And if you're good enough, you're going to be good enough. So